Hi, I'm Jussi. As we head to the new year, I decided to do a small change and start going by my real first name on this channel. I've been using Ryoichi as my online name since I was a kid because I thought he was so cool in the Sly series, but I do feel I've sort of grown out of it and changing to Jussi going forward just feels right. And as you can see, I'm also gonna try to appear on camera just to learn new things, but as this is a skill you need to learn, first videos might be a bit scuffed, so bear with me. Nothing else is changing. I will continue to talk about games and subjects surrounding games that I'm interested in and feel passionate about, so I hope you keep watching. But enough of that. Let's speak about games because holy shit, 2025 was another amazing year. Last year was once again one of my favorite years for games. I feel I got to experience so many great new games from so many different genres that the year just felt really fulfilling. All in all, I ended up playing 27 new releases, which is a lot, and I enjoyed the hell out of most of them. I will start off with few honorable mentions that I found interesting, but couldn't quite hit my top 10. And I will also post my full list in the description down below if you are interested. First honorable mention goes to the game set in Japan at the turn of the 17th century. Our protagonist is a young woman whose family gets killed by a group of masked villains aiming to take control of that region of Japan. So our heroine starts hunting these villains one by one, with the game even letting you choose the order at some points. You can use many different weapons like katanas and kusarigamas or utilize stealth to kill your enemies. Okay, that is as far as I can push this joke. But for real, I really enjoyed both Ghost of Yotei and Assassin's Creed Shadows. AC was not really a surprise as I love the series, including the bigger RPGs. Yotei was actually a bit of a surprise as I wasn't the biggest fan of Ghost of Tsushima, but I really connected with this game. I had some issues with both games for different reasons, but both games made up for them in other areas. Next up is Lost Records Bloom and Rage. Don't Nod's games have been a bit of a hit or miss ever since their first one, Remember Me. I actually didn't like the original Life is Strange, and unlike most, I enjoyed the sequels more. So I went into Lost Records without very low expectations, but it blew me away. It is a very slow burn to the point of where I was honestly a bit bored at points, but the emotional payoff was incredible. The game was very nostalgic, the characters felt fleshed out, especially in the way the story was told, and the camera system of recording these clips was very charming. The most out-of-the-box game I played last year was definitely Blueprints. Its crazy puzzle game mixed with a roguelike approach was something so unique and fresh that I appreciated it on that alone. That said, the game never fully clicked with me. The RNG just got in the way of the puzzle solving a bit too much. I really enjoyed my time with the game getting the main ending, but after that I didn't feel the urge to continue to unravel its many more mysteries. And finally, I would feel like a total fraud if I didn't at least give an honorable mention to this game considering how much I love the series. And it's of course Trails in the Sky first chapter. I won't spend too much time talking about this as I made a separate video on the subject, but I think this was a well-made and a faithful remake of the original game. But I didn't really enjoy my time with it. That was more of a me problem and not the game's fault. It's an amazing game, but just not for me. But finally, let's get to the main list, starting off with number 10. Atomfall was one of the biggest surprises for me in 2025. What do you mean Rebellion, the studio that has been doing Sniper Elite games for the past 15 or so years, came out with a first-person open-world experience that takes inspiration from the likes of Fallout and Stalker, but manages to create something fresh with its weird British setting, contained scale, and lack of handholding. In a world where 50+ hour open world games are the norm, it was very refreshing to play something that has minimum guidance, multiple endings, and still manages to wrap up in like 15 hours. The gameplay is pretty rough. The updates have apparently fixed some of it, but even in its worst shape, the game was something I really enjoyed a lot. It is a very me-coded game, similar to one other game on this list, so it's not for everyone, but I hope more people give it a shot from a Steam sale or something. Another huge surprise was Dispatch. I'm an avid consumer of superhero media, both the traditional Marvel and DC stuff, as well as the more modern, deconstructive stuff like The Boys and Invincible. And somehow Dispatch managed to carve a path for itself. On the surface, it has that modern take on the superhero genre, but unlike its peers, it doesn't fall into the bleak nihilism and has a very earnest feel to it. The writing is snappy, the art style is nice, and the small gameplay sections of this superhero management sim made the game feel more like a game. And I've played enough choice-based games to have that sensible expectations to the classic illusion of choice, and Dispatch handles it very well. But honestly, the biggest achievement is that how well they managed to bring together this wild group of voice actors that range from Hollywood actors of Aaron Paul and Jeffrey Wright to voice acting legends Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham, to goddamn Moist Critical and Jacksepticeye, and somehow it works flawlessly. Everybody just fits their characters so well. Now, a game that did not surprise me with its quality was Split Fiction. By now, everybody knows that Hazelight and Joseph Fares can create super fun co-op games, and this was no different. The premise of jumping between these different stories written by the protagonists was very clever and offered a nice change of pace as they kept introducing new mechanics with each level. The main story was very predictable, but the dynamic between the characters was great, and the game was just the right length. Co-op games and multiplayer games in general can be hard to judge, as playing something with a friend always elevates the experience, but Split Fiction was definitely one of the best games of 2025. Hades 2 is more Hades, and that was enough for me. I adore the gameplay loop, and Hades 2 fixed the biggest issue of the first game by giving the players two separate routes so you can switch between the underworld and surface runs. Most of the new weapons were fun, changes to the keepsakes and permanent upgrades worked well, and the new characters fit the universe. Perfect example of don't fix what was not broken, but just add a bit more type of sequel. The story, especially the main ending, was a bit disappointing at first, but Supergiant took the feedback and overhauled the ending, making it so much better. And you gotta appreciate the guts to make such a big change after the 1.0 launch. The gameplay alone already carried the game for me, but that story change did bump up the game couple spots. I have always been a Battlefield fan. I think Battlefield 2 was the first multiplayer game that I really put a lot of time into, and after that I really enjoyed Battlefield 3, 1943, and both bad companies. Battlefield 4 was my main game for years, but after that I did lose interest. I didn't really enjoy 1 or 5, and I didn't even buy 2042. But Battlefield 6 brought me back. Is it perfect? No, but I would be lying if I said playing it with a couple good friends hasn't been the best gaming experiences of 2025. It just offers that fun and chaotic gameplay with just enough so-called realism. A combo no other multiplayer game really offers. And as a Battle Royale enjoyer, RedSec has also been quite fun. Battlefield 6 reminded me of why I fell in love with this franchise in the first place by giving you those classic Battlefield moments that stick with you. Now on the completely different side of the spectrum, but still hitting that blissful nostalgia, is Once Upon a Katamari. I think rolling up your Katamari is the greatest and most addictive gameplay mechanic of all time, and that hasn't changed a bit in 20 years. And finally, after 14 years, we have a real new Katamari game that isn't a remake or some mobile bullshit, and it was perfect. They didn't try to modernize it, it's still as janky as it has always been, and they nailed the soundtrack. It's just pure Katamari action, and I couldn't have wished for anything better. I think one of the coolest things a game can do is to make a genre I'm usually not interested in something that hooks me. And that was the Alters this year. I don't really care for the resource management crafting survival games outside of few exceptions like Subnautica. So it's always a thrill when a game is so good at giving you motivation to do these tasks and contextualizes it so well with its story. And The Alters nails it with its unique sci-fi premise where the protagonist Jan Dolsky is stranded on a foreign planet, and to survive he has to create clones of himself. But through some sci-fi bullshit, all the clones, or the alters, have different life experiences affecting their personalities and skills. And the game is so good at creating believable conflict between the characters, but also those moments of levity. And the way this all connects to the gameplay is so satisfying. And I would be ashamed if I didn't praise the incredible voice acting of Alex Jordan, who voices all the alters with such good nuance. Alters is amazing, and if you haven't tried it out, please do. Now, on the opposite side of popularity is a game that requires no introduction, and that is of course Expedition 33. People like to call the game innovative, and in some ways it might be, but a lot of it is just taking the correct inspirations and iterating on. The turn-based system with active parries and dodges is nothing new, but it feels great. And the upgrade system gives you enough freedom to create these overpowered fun builds. The story and the themes are not unique, but they present it in a very impactful way through the amazing performances, but also through this weird and little whimsical world. And all of this is wrapped inside a beautifully fitting visual presentation and with a varied soundtrack that I adore. All in all, Expedition 33 is just a very coherent piece of design. They just made a really good video game. I've always struggled with the idea of roleplay in games. I love many RPGs, but I've always felt I was making choices both in dialogue and gameplay from an outside-in perspective. In other words, I have never found an RPG immersive enough for me to take that step further. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and to lesser extent the first one, was that game. It's the perfect combination of a real historic setting, relatable protagonist with clear motivations while still having enough room to make dialogue choices believable, and then of course the gameplay that grounds you into the setting. And yes, the gameplay can be a bit tedious at points, but I'm a firm believer that friction is the most important thing in creating immersive gaming experiences. I talked more about it in my Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 videos, so go watch those if you want to hear my deeper thoughts. And finally, we have gotten to my Game of the Year 2025, and to be honest, I might be the only person with this choice. It just blew me away by being such a cool game that felt like it was designed for me personally. And that game is Hell Is Us. Hell Is Us might look like an average third-person action game, and in part it is that. The movement and combat is nothing special, it has some good ideas, but the execution is a bit flawed. But for me, that doesn't matter at all, because the rest of the game is so fucking incredible, and that I've rarely felt such a connection to a game. Hell Is Us has some of the greatest world building I've ever encountered in a video game. The way they realized this fictional country of Hadia and its brutal civil war is nothing but incredible. Everything feels so cohesive that when you witness a new piece of the story, talk to a new NPC, look through the environmental storytelling, or encounter a new puzzle, you can just fit all the pieces together to deepen your understanding of what is going on in this country. And the game really doesn't hold your hand, so you have to discover things yourself without markers, and I love how the game's puzzles are designed to be intertwined with the world's history. I do feel the need to make it very clear that when talking about Hell Is Us is that this game had some very specific things that matched my specific interests, so I can't fully recommend it blindly to people. But if you're even a little bit of interested, please check it out and hopefully it clicks for you like it did for me. And there it is. Those were my favorite games of 2025, and like I mentioned before, you can find the full list in the description. Now, I would love to hear some of your favorite games from last year. Do we share any, or do you have some deep cut picks of your own? I hope 2026 can be as fulfilling year when it comes to games, but so far I gotta say it is looking a bit weaker for me. From the bigger games, there is really only two that I'm really looking forward to: 007 First Light and Control Resonant, but I'm of course expecting to see some fun surprises from the AA and indie spaces. But that said, less new games I'm interested in playing is also a positive, as I can focus on other stuff. I'm actually working on a bigger video project that many of you might find very interesting, and that is gonna take a lot of my time in the first half of the year, but please look forward to it. And of course I will be posting videos about whatever catches my interest in the meanwhile. Thank you so much for watching this video or any of my videos in the past year. Hopefully I have more time to be a bit more active this year and try out new styles of videos, so if you have any ideas what you want to see from me, please let me know. And as always, if you do enjoy my content, hit that like and subscribe buttons. Thank you and have a great day.